Good Wednesday morning, friends, or afternoon. Let's try that again. I'm getting used to some new technology this morning. Good Wednesday morning, or afternoon, or whenever you happen to join. For those that I may not know, I'm Reverend Jennifer Findley, our Momentum and Discipleship pastor here at First United Methodist Church in Kirksville. And this is our weekly time to pause together, to take a deep breath, and to wonder together about how God is meeting us in our daily lives, how God is at work in the world. And we've shared before that some weeks that question is easy to answer, and some weeks it's harder. Now, I know that as we watch the news and as we hear about all of the suffering in Israel and Palestine, it may be hard this morning to say, yeah, how is God at work in the world? I know that when we watch the news and we hear of suffering in other places, it makes us feel helpless and we're not quite sure what to do. And I don't have good answers for that today, except I know it's good to say it out loud, to acknowledge that sometimes it's hard to answer, how are we seeing God at work in our world? Where is God in all of this? As we've been talking through this couple of weeks in worship, we began a series on Sunday talking about community, how it is that we are emotionally invested with each other in community together as a faith community, but also in our wider circles of family and community. And we talked a bit on Sunday, Pastor Scott talked about the ways in which that requires us to know ourselves. And this coming Sunday, we'll be talking a little bit about how it is that we embrace, not just tolerate, our differences. And I was thinking about that as the ways that God has shown up to me this week, where I've seen God at work in community. Last weekend, I traveled to a retreat center near Unionville, Missouri, with a couple of our college students for our fall retreat. And this is a place that we've returned to for multiple years. I think this maybe is the sixth year that we've returned to the same spot. And this place is a labor of love by the husband and wife team that has built it and run it. They're actually getting ready to sell it and to move south. And so this might be the last time that we are able to be at that property. And as I was talking with this couple, both on email and as we chatted there, I remembered the blessing of relationships built over time across differences. For I know that this particular couple, we probably are not on the same page when it comes to any number of beliefs about God, about how God works in the world, about political beliefs. We are probably on different ends of a spectrum on many things, and yet we have a relationship that has built over time in a way that has built community. It has welcomed me and my students into their gracious space, to a beautiful part of Northeast Missouri. And I got an email that was thanking us for being there this year, and the sign-off was, pray for us, pray for our ministry, and we will be praying for you. That friends, God met me in that simple message, that reminder that despite differences, we can indeed say, I'll pray for you, you pray for me, and God met me there. And then last night I was sitting on my back deck before it started to rain early this morning. It was a beautiful fall evening, and I had some extra time I don't usually have in the evening, and I was sitting out on my back deck talking on the phone with a colleague and friend and a neighbor who is just directly across the street from me, but in the swirl of all the things, I hadn't had a chance to really talk with him for months. He came over and he said, hey, would you like some tomatoes? And it sounds silly, but God met me in tomatoes. It had been a busy, full week, and the simple act of someone saying, hey, would you like some tomatoes? We then chatted for a while and caught up about what was happening in our neighborhood and what was happening in our lives. And it was a reminder that sometimes community isn't complicated. It maybe is as simple as walking across the street and saying, hey, Would you like some tomatoes? This kind of was, didn't know if anybody was supplying you with tomatoes, but I wanted to make sure you had some. It was lovely. And again, this may be somebody that we are probably very different in lots of kinds of ways, but the simple offer of, hey, I have something that you might enjoy and I'd like to share it with you. And that got me to thinking about the ways in which God meets us in those very simple acts of others. And so I'm wondering, what are the ways that God has met you recently, maybe even across differences, by someone's simple, small, caring act? And maybe as you think about that, maybe think about the ways in which you might be able to be that person for somebody else, the ways in which God is nudging you to be a part of building that community. It might truly be as simple as walking across the side street and offering someone some tomatoes. So wherever this week takes you, my hope and prayer is that community and the love of God finds you in some way, wherever you are. Go in peace, my friends.